everyone, Richard Carlton. Welcome to another awesome day. Of course, the lighting is all boogered up here, but let me see if I can push a button here. Welcome today. It's open line Friday, right? For those of you who know the reference to that. If not, don't worry about it. So we are going to be doing open Q&A as well as checking out some really cool little sample files. I just got the sample file jerry-rigged here. What we want to do is take a look at this sample file right here. And what it was is Andre, who's one of our awesome video watchers, spent some time going through and creating some sample files. He actually wrote up a little bit a README right here, which is really quite good. And it's neat because you can walk through this and read through this. There's more training in here than we could possibly do in 1 hour. But he goes through and writes this. He did a great job with this. He actually created a little README on this. So there's several sample files. You should definitely feel free to read through the sample file. It's totally free, totally unlocked. Andre, I want to give a big shouting, clapping hands. Thank you to Andre. You did a great job of popping this file up. And then I want to, of course, welcome everyone to our broadcast. So today is Friday. We do open Q&A and samples, etc. And so we have all sorts of sample files that were included today. Last week we did one from Brutterman and NetLobster. Great job with those as well. And of course, during the week we do broadcasts and the presenters are presenting various materials. Also, I want to point out that is that if you want to sponsor or help support the channel, I definitely recommend you go to fmtrain.tv. Once again, that's the live tab right here. You can see the live schedule. You can come over here, check out the bundles that we have, and take a look at those. The FileMaker training, this is the on-demand training. So you press a button, you watch the video. It's great stuff. We have a couple different bundles here. We even have a coupon for you. If you're interested in getting a coupon, send us an email to support@rcconsulting.com. Additionally, I've got to check with Nick on this, but Nick is supposed to have availability to work on some project work. He's in between projects, although now he's chasing this government contract thing. So I don't know if he actually has time to do any work for anyone. But in the event that he has time, what I'm going to do is I will check with him because I got this like 50-page RFP. For those of you who know what an RFP is, it's a lot of work. It's like it'll create a Word file that's that fat. And that RFP is quite big. And so if Nick has time, when not dealing with the RFP, he can potentially be available to help with coaching and other project work. So it's important to understand that if you need assistance, you need help, feel free to reach out to support RC Consulting and we can get Nick to help you. So this is, if some of you are looking for some FileMaker assistance and you don't want it in English, feel free to reach out to us at Support RC Consulting and ask for a multilingual FileMaker coach in Spanish. We also have Nick. If Nick is around, he can do it in Greek or French as well, which is kind of good. If you're a Greek FileMaker developer or a French FileMaker developer, or you're a customer and you need assistance, that is definitely available. Should we try to call Nick? I don't know. He's really busy. Let's see if he has time to talk to us. I'm just now kind of digging out. We could give him a call. I don't know where he's at. Let me see if he wants to talk. He sent me these like billion pages of RFP, and I'm like, All right, Nick, are you there? So once again, real quick, we are broadcasting live to Nick. If you want to grab the file, pop the file open, because there's reference in there about you a little bit. They took one of your files and made it better, which is a shocking thing that someone would make a Nick file better. But it's in the Discord link there. If you want to click on that, it's the bit.ly link. That's the 3DCOMIQ. I don't know if you have that or not. But it's pretty slick stuff. So let me pop this open. So we are broadcasting in high definition to Discord, Twitch, and YouTube, and it is recorded. These recordings, they lag about 2 days behind. And so what I want to do is, did you want to talk about these a little bit? Because one of them had something to do with you, right? So there's a weather API one here, pretty slick. There's a web scraping one here, which is interesting. Maybe the utility misses me on that one. The text compare is an interesting one.
But which one is mine? I don't see.
Well, if you go to the PDF, let me see. So there's a reference to you in here somewhere. That's always the exciting thing. And Andre, are you there actually? Andre there? He's probably floating around somewhere. This language sample called language sample. This is basically Nick's sample with an API to get to the translation. There's no, this is free and no API key and no curl options. Very simple. This was a file, I guess, something that you had done. Nick, do you remember part of this or not really?
No, it's not me.
What has Nick in here? I'm assuming it's you. Yeah. So that or could have been Nick or I guess from base elements. But yeah, it talks about the language conversion, language transition. So what you do is you put the label in here, and as you change languages, it dynamically is changing the language on the label. That's pretty slick. And so you have language labels. You have the language, of course.
Yeah. So for the language, I've done that exactly the same way when I was building the FileMaker server sample file. You remember that file?
Yes.
Okay. So it's a combination of the relationship plus multi-value fields. So I can, if people need more information about this, and if they want to reach out to me, because I know very well this, because I've been confronted to multilingual files all my life. So definitely, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry for that.
No, that's quite all right. I was looking at the one script in here, and he says it gets language items from translated.net. So I guess that's an online API that you can call, and it does this translation, which is pretty slick. So that's a neat one here. Lots of actually neat bits and pieces in this file right here. I like the file comparison. That's pretty neat as well. So yeah, I like that. So you compare two blocks of text, etc. There's a lot of neat stuff actually been going on lately, especially with the API. I like that MCE, the tiny MCE, the rich text editor from last week. And then, of course, it looked like Claris had glued that in one of their add-on modules, so you can drag and drop it in there, right? So questions along the way from people. It's Friday. We got questions. Now is the time to ask questions. Yeah, Scott Kane says, I think Andre's referring to the language video that Nick posted last year. So yeah, it's you did something, Nick, and you forgot about it. Is what happened.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, no, I've done so many.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty neat stuff. So once again, I want to thank Andre for popping these out. They're pretty neat. I like the text compare, the weather API. You've gone around about the weather, right? A couple times, Nick.
Yes. Actually, I use that a lot. Especially Scott Kane has a very important usage of this, because on his file is doing kind of it's a roofing company fixing roof. So you want to know when you go to walk on the roof, right? So I'm showing on my screen. If you want to share if you don't show my screen, I can show people what you can do. Pretty much what you can do with this kind of stuff. It can be nice, can be something that looks very cool. You see, you can build your own kind of weather widgets with using the open weather. I'm using exactly the same software here, the same API, the open weather. It's very powerful. You have a free account that you can use for for that kind of stuff that I'm showing you right now. That is free, right? But so you need two things. Maybe I can show people that they need to have something that is I'm using a lot. So yeah, go ahead, Rick, and I come back to say something to people that will be useful for that application of the weather application. So go ahead.
Well, do you want to? You want to go set it up? Is that what you said? You want me to go?
Yeah. I need to find a piece of code, so you can.
All right. So I'm going to minimize your screen. You're still hiding out down there. So yeah, or if you want to quit sharing your screen. Yeah. So the sample files that we've been collecting over a while, there's been actually quite a few. If we go back to the Discord, we've been putting sample files. So let me see. So I'm going to go up to the announcements or resources. We have a lot of. Where is TK556 been sticking these? TK, where have you been putting all the shared sample? Oh, right here, shared sample files. Also, NJ has been posting a lot of stuff in here too. I wanted a chance to talk about that. He has done a really great job with posting stuff. He has been posting a number of things in here. So for those of you who have missed, you want to check out where the cool kids hang out is on Discord. Let me grab. We probably need to grab and invite TK and invite people here, but there's a valueless sample in here. He's posted a couple files recently. Hyper, links in text, and FileMaker. I'm going to download this one real quick. See if it downloads to my desktop. See if I can hide that. Or the hypertext and links. So this file right here. And so, yeah, so this is a pretty neat. So what you want to do is as you go through these things, so you format the links. There's neat samples in here that people have prepared to help solve specific problems. I think it's great when you have the ability to do that. There were several in here that were great. The ones from last week, of course, layout calc order, right? I'm not sure what that one is. We'd have to go in and dig into that. Make records fast. NJ says, set myself a challenge to create 1 million records in the shortest amount of time. And he thought he would challenge anyone else who thought they could make records as fast as he did. So that was pretty interesting. So it's another sample file. We should definitely put the Andre October 2020. I'll put the sample right. Oh, October 2020 sample. See if I can put that right here. There it is. So that's the next sample file there for that. So that's pretty neat stuff. There's a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Nick.
So if you want to show my screen right quick, I can go ahead and give some information about the weather.
Sure. Go ahead.
Something that is cool. That's something you need to have, and maybe you can use it. There's a free website that they call IP IP API.com. So and when you type this and you add here, you have JSON you have the JSON kind of stuff here. You get the exact localization of where your connection is, your internet connection is. Like for example, you know that I am in Comcast cable. That's my provider. You know my country, I'm US, California, Stockton, the zip code. You know everything about the connection. So for the weather, you use this to identify where you are. Apple, for example, iPhone or whatever, when you want to know the weather of the current location, they use that. Okay, they use the connection of the internet connection.
Yep, absolutely. And so Andre was here reminding me to point out the fact that I'm going to just downsize this briefly here real quick. Point out the fact that there is a PDF or README on this for him. There we go. And so these are all the little sample files that are in this folder. So when you download the Andre folder, you're going to get this folder right here. You're going to get a let me hide everything else. You're going to get a file was not closed properly, recover log, but you're going to get this PDF right here, which spends some time that goes through this. He did a great job of preparing this information. Once again, great work. And so yeah, so this one here this one's interesting. I was trying to read this. It's hard for me to kind of grasp this, but this had to do with looking at services, looking at the ports involved. It has to do with more advanced network configuration and network management, and giving you information about that. If you're interested in that, that's the web scraping sample, right? But these are very educational to go through. This one has got more of a niche audience, I think, a little bit, but it talks about port numbers. For those of you, we talk about port numbers. For a layman, if you're a bunny-like person, a port number on the it's like if you listen to an old AM or FM radio, and you put the frequency, you type it in like 90, listen to rock on 92.5, FM or something or whatever. That's like a frequency. A port number is kind of like that. It's as you have TCP/IP that's going through the pipe, right? It's a specific, almost like a frequency of the traffic. It's not a frequency, but I'm using that as an analogy, and it allows you to. So this traffic has if it's port number 80, that frequency is kind of reserved for web traffic. And if it's encrypted on a browser, then it's 443. email can be port 25 or whatever, etc. And of course, hackers like to get in there and mess with this stuff, and so, but the idea is that FileMaker itself has a port reservation. It's reserved. There's an official registry of port numbers. Things are reserved. So, like if you built a new application and you were going to compete with FileMaker, we call it say it's NickMaker. Right? Say Nick decides that he's going to compete with Claris. He's got $1 billion. He's going to build this product, compete with Claris. It's called NickMaker. He would, as he's communicating on the internet, he would have to use a specific port number or frequency. He would reserve a number for himself, most likely. Claris has reserved 5003. So 80 is browser traffic, 443 is encrypted browser traffic, 5003 is FileMaker traffic, and then maybe port whatever would be NickMaker traffic, right? So, every kind of service has a different frequency. That way these things don't really run into each other. Does that make sense? Is the whole idea? And a firewall blocks traffic on certain port numbers. You get into a situation where people say, oh, I can't connect the FileMaker through my company network. That's because the firewall is blocking that port number. You have to create a hole through the firewall. So you have this big firewall, and they have to drill a hole through, and you write a little exception into the rules for that router firewall, and allows the traffic from 5003 to go back and forth through, which allows FileMaker traffic to go back and forth through. Network administrators hate to do that. They hate holes in the firewall because if every hole they create is an opportunity for some asshat hacker to go and exploit that hole and to do something bad. I've not heard too many, in fact, I've never heard of anyone using 5003 to hack. But what happens is that network administrators just say, if we block everything, it's 100% blocked, then you're safe, right? Which is not necessarily a true statement, but they feel better about blocking everything. So that's kind of what this stuff is about. If anyone has questions, oh, there it is. Andre, so the scraping app is focused on the script to see how advanced parsing techniques work, powerful function chaining is. So that's a good one to tear apart on that one. So Andre, good. So that's that one, Andre. What about the next one? So the weather API sample, Nick talked about this a little bit. Shows it's JSON data going back and forth. But it's once again API conversation, pretty neat stuff. The text compare, text sample. This is be a fun one to tear apart and learn about. Once again, maybe it's your homework assignment. Like David is, so David Angel just asked a question on Discord. Can we open question about sort on server and how it works in 19.1? But that implies that David knows more than he's saying. Are you comparing that to how it might work in a future release, David, or are you just asking that question generically? Right. So I wanted to be clear. So what is the new version is 19.1.2? That was their new version. Hey, Jacob Taylor, you're on live TV. How are you?
Excellent. How are you doing?
Good. Well, okay. So David Angel, who's on Discord, just tried to get me in serious legal trouble with Apple, and I sensed a trap. It's like a bear trap that eats and kills you. So. So when Claris has shipped a product, they shipped a client, right? Mm-hmm. They shipped what, 19.1.2, right? Is that what they did, or is it?
Yes. Last week.
And so the product before was 19.0. They only shipped Pro. They did not ship the new server, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so yeah, so that's exactly correct. So the question is the problem is that David read. Can you look at the README for me, Jacob? Pull the README up. It's and see if they make reference. Just do a search for sort in there. What they've disclosed officially on that, because they're changing the way sort works. But if they haven't publicly released it, I can't talk about it. It's one of those sort of things, right? So
let's see. I have talked about it in the past, but only because it was in that session at I guess it's not DevCon this year. It was.
They did talk about it there officially. They did say that they were trying to rewire it so the server would do more sorts. But David's asking for technical information on a product. So I'm not going to provide training on a product that hasn't yet. So to be very clear, as of right now, if you do a sort, the client does the sort, period, unless you're on PSOS or on SASE or on a web, or you're doing web direct, which happens to be on the server anyway, if you do a sort, FileMaker sends you all the data, and your client, does the sorting. Claris, we requested, so the backstory in this, we've been requesting that server would do some of this. The problem is that it's whenever you interact as a client, you interact with FileMaker server, you do a find request or you're doing something, a thread, what it does, it takes your thread, assigns it to a single core, and then that core does it. If you have 5 people in the company and you have a 2-core machine, basically 2 people can be doing something simultaneously. Now, most time it's happening so fast you don't notice that those 2 cores are bouncing between those 5 people. But what's happening is, and there's this decision making that goes on with a newer version of FileMaker that has not shipped yet, theoretically, is that they will get to a point where if you have cores that are available and the server determines there's sufficient available processor power, it will do the sort for you and send you the results. Okay.
Yep.
Do
you mind if I read their?
Why don't you go ahead and read it? Why don't you go ahead and read it to us?
There's a tiny. It's 3 sentences, so it won't take long. This is from the updater release notes for FileMaker Pro 19.1.2, which is the one that was released last week. It says sorting records on the host. In previous versions, FileMaker Server always transferred records from hosted apps to FileMaker clients to perform a sort. Starting with version 1.2 of FileMaker clients and FileMaker Server, FileMaker Server will perform the sort if it's not busy. Otherwise, the client will perform the sort.
So as of right now, the behavior has not changed. There is no new server. You have to have the new server to use this, right? So 19.1.2 Pro talking to 19.0 whatever server will not result in this new behavior. There is a new server. I don't know when they're going to ship it. I assume that they're on a rolling release schedule, and their next ship window would be in 4 months, right? So TK said, yeah, there's the block of text right there. So the question is how is it different, right? I don't have the formula in front of me. It's also kind of somewhat they're in beta testing or ETS testing on it. I have not put the to be honest with you, my schedule is so full, I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. So I will try to break some time off from my schedule and to test that, because that's an important performance consideration. Actually, to be honest with you, the way the server and the client works, and I was kind of shocked by this because I've been reshooting the performance videos that are going in the Pro course. And we've actually posted more Go videos in the last week to our Go course. So go open the training video, open it up. But the server sends you the data so you can perform the sort. If you have 1 million records and you sort 1 million records, you're going to get all the data. At that point, at the point where you have all the data cached down locally, you're better off to do the sort yourself anyway, right? Because think about it. The server is only faster if it doesn't have to shovel all the dirt down to you for you to do it. If you already have a giant pile of dirt in your living room of all the data, and they say, hey, let's do a sort, unless you're on an iPhone, a gutless iPhone that's horribly underpowered, it's going to be faster for you to do the sort probably on your computer, on your laptop, than it is to tell the server to do it on its 1 core because it's doing other stuff as well, right? So it's an interesting kind of, this is where getting into trying to understand it, and I was shooting the videos, and the behavior, what had happened is somewhere along the way between the 18-19 release, Claris had started caching the data down from the server to the client. They've always sent the data down and cached it, but when you quit FileMaker, it would keep the layout information, keep the schema information, keep the structural information. It would dump the data. Now it keeps the whole thing. So what it does when you open it up, sometimes it takes a long time for you to open up a file. It's comparing all your schema information. Then it compares all the data it retained from the last time it was open to see what's changed, and then you get a download of what's changed, right? So then you're caught up to date, right? Makes sense? And so that's why things keep getting faster and faster, because you have this huge download. It also means that you can have gigabytes of data that have basically come down to your client, right?
Yeah, that's what happened to me maybe 5 days ago. I had 21 gigabyte free on my hard drive. So I'm good, right? 21 gigabyte. And then suddenly FileMaker 19 popped a message to me and said, hey, you're running low on space. What? Right? And also what the problem is, because they cache everything now. Now the other problem on server, that's why we keep saying on server, get your server free as soon as possible and as long as possible. I mean, don't launch something that will last 2 hours, 5 hours, and something like that in the middle of the afternoon that we keep busy, or we keep 75% of your server busy for 1 hour. That means everything else will be crap for everybody because you do that. So that's why it's better to slice in small things instead of having a big thing to do, right?
Right. Well, yeah, and that was the change that was more recent, was that they really retained the user data, the data that you put in browse mode, right? That's the data that was retained. I was surprised that it was actually being retained to the level it was. It's retaining damn near everything, right? And I think that's their strategy to speed it up, because it's easier for Claris to create caching to do this than it is to teach everyone lean design. Think about it. Who teaches lean design? Okay, Nick. Or if you go to DevCon once a year, there's a couple developers from Skeleton Key and wherever else. You can pick the usual suspects. Once a year, Claris and a handful of developers teach lean design. Who teaches lean design year round? We do, right? Why? Because it's a lot of work, right? It takes a lot of effort. And so Claris went, well, we could try to teach everyone how to build lean apps, or we could just try to make FileMaker like more forgiving and faster for them, right? And so that's kind of what the strategy is. If you build lean design, you're going to be a much faster developer. So just keep in mind that Claris and the FileMaker server software is going to be looking at the processors it has. Like we had a customer the other day, and I'm not going to name their name, but they had 87 or 67 or 60. Jacob, are you there? It's just, we don't want to name the company, but they had like 70, 80 users on a 2-core machine. Had a lot of RAM. Did it have SSDs on it, or is it spinning drives?
I found out later it does have SSDs underneath. Yeah.
But it has 2 whole cores.
But it's
2 cores. 2 cores. So 4 people do a search, an unindexed search at the same time. 2 people go into a holding pattern, right? It's like 2 runways, and you got 4 planes trying to land at the same time. 2 planes are going to have to get to land, and 2 other planes are going to be serving drinks and nuts until the other 2 planes finish landing. 4 minutes of waiting time, right? And so the idea with you want a airport with 10 or 12 runways, so you can take 10 or 12 planes at the same time. Also, that customer with the 2 processors, they never would have got the benefit of this faster server that's coming out, because the server was always busy, right? The server says, I will do the server for you and make it go faster if I'm free. And if you have 80 people beating on 2 processors, how free could it possibly be? Never. And so you need to put in, if you have a bunch of people and they're doing a bunch of fines, you're going to put in a whole bunch of processors, and so it divvies up that work. And then like Nick is doing PSOS requests, and Christian Olsen just showed me. I didn't say this to Nick today. I didn't want to cause Nick stress over the weekend, but Christian Olsen out-nicked Nick today in a demo to me. There'll be a video on it. We're going to bring Nick along. And then, of course, I told everyone that, I said, if we bring Nick to this meeting and a live webinar, Nick is going to tell everyone it's a hack, right? Because he'll say it's a hack. So it's another button bar hack, shall we say, right? But the thing is that to make this button bar hack work, there's some processing that goes on. It makes things faster, but it sends a PSOS request to the server and brings it back from JSON. So every time you're flipping a record, you know those little counts across the bottom of on a tab, right? Well, that can slow things down. Well, Christian's got it really fast shooting a JSON request to the server. That's a PSOS. It's a PSOS request that returns JSON. Okay, correction. And so as a result, the server has to have those processors available. If they're not, when you make that request, it'll go into a holding pattern, waiting, 1. And 2, it blocks any of this other stuff, any of these nice features. So you have to get enough processors. I think I beat that to death. But Jacob, yes?
Yes. And this particular client also had they run a big mirror sync operation, and they also run web pages off of the data API that does dashboarding for their business. And so yeah, the server was very unhappy. We're going to be upgrading them to what I think is the literal absolute minimum we could ever possibly get away with, which is a quad core.
They're gonna go to 4 cores. Oh my gosh.
They're gonna go to 4 cores. I know. It's gonna breathe life into their solution, and still, they should be on 6 or 8 probably. But
at least I'm hiding my face because I don't want to even be associated with 80 people using 4 cores.
It's 67, and the number of concurrents is like 20, so it's on the level of DBW4, but we don't have all the data API traffic and stuff like that. So
yeah, so DBW4 is our corporate in-house server, so it's but we have 30 people, whatever we have in there, So there's going to be the a gladiator smackdown between Christian and Nick. I think it's the first week of November, something like that. And so Nick is going to, or Christian is going to bring his out Nick on the the status control bar. And if any of you have you want to out Nick too, send us in. So we're gonna have a new challenge. It's called Out Nick, and it's where but you must use a hack to do it. I want to hear Nick scream. It's a hack. Right? We want to have an out Nick. So if any of you want to raise to the challenge, the goal is but you have to use it as a hack. And the definition of a hack is a technique that Nick is not using. And we all know it's a hack, but Nick will say, no, it's not a hack, it's mandatory, you do it this way, right? So you say that to him, but then, so that you have to use a hack, and the goal is to count the number of times Nick says hack and mandatory in one broadcast. And so you're going to be like the judge, Nick. You're going to sit over here like this. You're going to sit over here like the judge. We're going to have Christian over here in a gladiator outfit. And then anyone else who wants to do that, that'll be really awesome. So I think that'll be fun. Off topic, does anyone know of a great tutorial walkthrough of setting up a web page that talks to FileMaker via the data API? I have the old FileMaker. Yeah, well, that's in our training to some degree, Mike. Didn't we? Jacob, you and I did the videos on this, right?
Yeah, I think we did like a code review even all the way through.
In 18, we did it for 18, but it's the same in 19. So,
it hasn't changed, yeah.
So that's. Oh, here, let me hit the button. I have a button for this. This is in our file. Oh, hang on, did it go? Oh, it's down here. Sorry, it's in our FileMaker training bundle. So yeah, so there's a video in here in the Pro course. If you go into that, and we talk about the data API and the pieces that you need to do with that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you don't know anything about the web and you've never done HTML before, any of that kind of stuff, it might be a steep curve for you, but yeah, it's pretty good there. Yeah, Andre's talking about server-side cache settings and things like that. I thought it was more concrete, but then, then we had a conversation with, was it with Nick Orr or was it Jesse Barnum? You and him, Jacob, were going back and forth about cache settings and trying to figure out the best setting, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we had a discussion about I tend to just go with the rule of thumb on it, mostly because it's a lot easier. But the nuance he injected into the conversation was, technically, if you have a very business critical application, you actually want to try and do profiling of your app and the load levels and all that kind of stuff to figure out exactly what you need and what's going to be best.
And that has to do with the server cache, because the server cache, when you set the server cache, applies to the database engine itself. It applies to PSOS and SASE. It doesn't apply to the web data API processing or the web server. And if you steal all the RAM off the server and you give it to the FileMaker database engine, then you're kind of ripping other people off from the RAM they need. So I can't tell you that I personally in 30 years have ever sat there for 3 days and stopwatch the crap out of it with a different RAM settings. I think it gets to a point where it's hard to tell where you're at with that in terms of the difference in performance, because it's so subjective. Mm-hmm. But normally, if you're only doing 2 processors, probably you need to rethink your budget for what you pay for your server on a per month basis. Put more RAM on it. 32 is a great number. I like 32. You could easily give the server 16 and leave 16 for the rest of the system. I think would be plenty. Jacob, I don't know if you can argue with that if you want, but I kind of like that myself.
Mm-hmm. That's actually more than we give ours.
Yep. So there you go. All right.
That was our old on-site server. Had 32 gigs.
Yep. NetLobster says, will we ever get back the ability to go from layout to layout the way We go from record to record. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is one. I'm going to answer this one real quick. I do this all the time myself. So I have them FileMaker. If I go over here to layout mode, you notice that it's up here. Mine's up here. NetLobster, you don't have this ability? Sorry. So what happens is that in layout mode, you can write up here, you say customize toolbar. Claris, in their infinite wisdom, and I had a conversation with them, like, why were there changes? It was actually a marketing decision by marketing people who aren't there anymore. And I'm not sure why it's jiggling up here. It seems to be jiggling for...
It's just it's an Apple stuff to tell you that you are editing it.
Oh, so it's vibrating. Okay, so I have my vibrating menu bar.
The Finder do the same thing.
And so what I do is I drag up this tool right up here. So I put it back in there. I put it back in there. So it's specific. Go ahead, Jay or Nick.
Now, if you go to the Finder, you have the same thing.
Ah, you have vibrating.
The jiggling stuff.
Yeah. It's specific to the machine, so it doesn't save it with the file. It's client. It's like saved finds, right? When you save a find, they're specific, I think, to your machine and on your account on your computer. I don't think save finds transfer from machine to machine, right, Nick? There are specific.
No, specific to the machine, to the FileMaker. Specific to the FileMaker, because if you have 16, 17, 18, they don't cross.
Yeah, so this is awesome. Andre's doing great job, Andre. I like the language sample as well. This is about making, Nick, you don't remember doing this, but this is about making a interface that is multilingual interface, right? Pretty cool.
Yeah, actually, I checked the thing as it's well done.
Yeah, no, Andre. Okay, so Andre is a good guy. Andre, I like Nick says that. Andre, it's well done. Okay, that's Nick's way of saying you don't suck, right? Nick, you did a good job. This is twice we've had Andre days. We actually called it Andre Day last time. So it's good to know. Add it to your toolbar. Yeah, I flip through layouts all the time like that. It's one of those. Here's the thing. You're doing this stuff for you'll be doing stuff in FileMaker or in the Mac OS, right? And there'll be a feature, some sort of keyboard shortcut you missed and no one explained to you. Like if I hold Command and an Option and is it at D? There it is. See, it keeps popping my toolbar back and forth, right? And so I did not know that. It's only been there for probably 10, 20 years. And so you feel really stupid as a very senior person. You should know all this, but it's a lot to know. A lot to know, a lot to memorize. Bilbo had a question. Can you explain what dead bird means? Oh, okay. So those of you, so let me I'll show you all this. I'll show you all this, right? So the way it works, at least in my company, and this goes back 20 plus years, we had engineers who would come up with sample files. This is before broadcast and before we were training and doing stuff. And I would have engineers who would show up and say like Andre worked for me. And I get this file on my email. It's like, hey, boss, check out this weather app. And I'm like, okay. And I would look at this and I go, that's really useful. I don't need it today. I might need it in the future. I need to stick it somewhere. So it's like a cat. If you any of have cats, have kitties, they bring dead animals to you as gifts to you because obviously you are underfed. They're trying to help feed you and show you how awesome they are. They're bringing you a dead animal. Most of the time they bring you a dead bird. My engineers do the same thing. They bring me dead birds. That's where the dead bird reference comes from. So instead of a cat bringing you literally a dead animal, I have engineers bringing me dead files. The files are useful. I don't want to get rid of them. I want to keep them. So I create a FileMaker file. It opens up. You can see the dead bird right there. And so what this is a repository. All it is like a document management thing where I can go in here and I can see the files that my engineer. I have 1,534 files that have been put in an article that the VP of Engineering at Claris had done, and I made a PDF and saved it here. It's got some comments, talks about where Claris might be going in the future. I saved that, and then of course I come in here and I have an RCC filter list demo. It's another demo that I think Calvin Moseyman had, and then another demo. And so we create a lot of demos we share with you, but even before that, we had the dead bird repository. So that's what we call dead birds. They're files that people give us. It's like a junk drawer. I didn't want to call it the junk drawer because that's boring. I thought I'd call it a dead bird. So there you go. So Jacob Taylor's talking about servers being idle for 85% of the time is great, or 85%.
No, Someone asked about memory usage being 85% because they're getting that notification on probably their FileMaker server admin console.
Yeah, you might want to up it a little. Well, I don't know. They might want to put more RAM in there, but that's just me. But yeah, that's
what we set them to. So if you set the RAM cache on FileMaker server to be ballpark a half the available memory, that plus the operating system and the Java bits, if you have web presentation engine enabled or any of that stuff, or the data API turned on, that all just together adds up to about 85% of RAM. And as I mentioned, if you don't have scheduled scripts that burn through a whole ton of records or something like that, if there's just some small stuff you do here and there, the RAM usage will just sit at 85% and you'll have no issue. What that means is you're maximizing the usage of the machine, because if you're leaving RAM on the table, obviously you don't want to go over, but if you're leaving RAM on the table, you're not getting the benefit of it.
Right. Absolutely. So another dead bird I wanted to credit some of you. So Brutterman's file will eventually find its way in here. This is where we were doing some latency testing, and NJ, person here who's on the thread here, although frequently he's not here live, he comes in kind of after the fact, he's on a different schedule, but he did some testing. So this is a container here I wanted to see, and he did some testing between Australia and the United States, and this were the milliseconds that he did. So I took a screenshot of it and stuck it in here, so it was a good reference. In a year or 6 months or whatever, it may not be accurate because the internet connection across the ocean floor might be different, but or they might use different technology, but it shows you the milliseconds, which are pretty slow actually. And that's why that right there is this discovery here is what helped spawn the enterprise replication broadcast that we did for the whole week with Jesse Barnum at 360 Works. We're really so that's too damn slow. If you're doing FileMaker work and your latency is numbers like this, 200, 300, that's too slow. Too slow. FileMaker's official recommended minimum or maximum allowable milliseconds is 150. I think that's kind of arbitrary. I think anything at 100, if you use FM starting point and lean design techniques, anything through 100 you're going to get great performance from that. Starting point specifically works great up to 100. Beyond 100, things start dropping off a cliff. I think we were going to Mumbai, India, and we were consistently getting over 300. This makes it kind of miserable. And so Jesse is supposed to be setting up our permanent enterprise. So we took those servers, we shut them down, but we kept the United States, East Coast, West Coast, and Europe? Is that what we did? Jacob Taylor?
Sorry, repeat the question.
Did we, what servers did we keep for the enterprise demo? Because we're setting up a permanent...
Yes, we have
East Coast, West Coast.
Our hub is West Coast. We have an East Coast and an Ireland.
Ireland, okay, and that'll give you a pretty. It's not that we hate people in Australia because you're weird or you like wallabies or whatever. It's simply because I didn't want to pay for a server in every geographical location, just as a demo for people. So it's a demo that you can take advantage of and play with and look at. It's a copy of starting point. So we will actually have a follow-up to that conversation, Jacob. Awesome. I'm actually literally wrestling with Jesse Barnum. I said, hey, Jesse, you alive? He's like, oh, yeah, I'm alive. I'm just busy. I'm like, okay. So, all right. Well, that wraps it up for today. Monday is going to be Calvin with the Claire's Connect. And hopefully he's not going to hang me out the drive. I've been trying to text him and make sure that he is ready to go. And once again, check out Andre. I want to say thanks to Andre for doing a great job with the sample file. We posted that. Also, NJ, and for those of you wondering about this, if you come to Discord, the conversation persists even after the broadcast is done. So if you go to, actually I can do it over here so you can see it. If you go to Discord over here, you get an invite for the server. We can post an invite for you or ask us for that. You come over here, down here to free files and samples. And then you can click over here and get the various samples. Not all of them necessarily are in here, but quite a few of them are in here, which is nice, including some that NJ put in here. So he or she is doing a great job. We greatly appreciate it as well. So special thanks to everyone showing up. Nick Hunter, as always, one of our ace hitters, is here. And, of course, TK55678, who's our moderator. All right, anything else? Is that about it? Jacob, Christian, or not Christian, Nick?
Oh, it's okay. I'm done.
All right. Well, then I will cut everyone loose. We'll catch you Monday. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
And the guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected the quarterback. Great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Trying to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap, stands in, throws it left for Amendola, reaches up and snaps a high throw and lands inside the 10, rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.